Hey guys, it's me, Kim. I'm back for another video. How are you doing? I'm good, thank you for asking. So after I did that Kamala Harris video, people were asking me to do a similar kind of video about Cory Booker. It took me a while because Cory Booker is just not as compelling a figure to me. So let's get into why that is. I first came to know him via this documentary series or whatever on IFC. It was called Brick City, and it was following him because Cory Booker has always kind of been in the national spotlight. So he had this whole camera crew and everything following him while he was trying to become mayor of Newark the first time. I think he was inaugurated in 2009. And so it followed his campaign and it, you know, his priorities and all of that. And I really liked him. You know, this is a man who seems to be genuinely invested in doing good. He approaches the job of public service earnestly, maybe a little bit too earnestly, but I can always appreciate a public servant who is not guided by ego. I mean, it was really something to see him, you know, win that election when he's not from Newark, but he was able to win people over by the fact that he had, you know, real ideas for the city and what it needed to change. And I was really impressed by the fact that once he became mayor, he lived in like the worst part of the city. I remember his apartment on that show just being awful. So I appreciate public servants, unless you're a prosecutor or a judge, who are genuinely committed to being with the people, interacting with the people every day. So check for him. For you, Cory Booker. I will say, as much as he seemed like a good guy back then, and as much as he seems like a good guy now, I have concerns. I watched that interview with The Breakfast Club, and it's so interesting that The Breakfast Club has become a place where you have to go if you are a serious presidential candidate. I think that, you know, I don't always fuck with them. I don't generally fuck with them, but it is impressive that they have built up that kind of reputation in Black communities. So anyways, he went on The Breakfast Club and he just said a lot of stuff that I was just like, oh, y'all should have prepped. Did you do any research before you came on this show? So one of the first things that really made me raise my eyebrow was, I did not know this before that, was Cory Booker is from the suburbs. He's led a very privileged life. I did know that he went to Yale, and I appreciate, I guess because of my own biography, people who have these elite educations and could go and make lots and lots of money doing horrible, shitty stuff and instead decide to help people. That means something to me. But then when he talked about being, you know, a kid from the suburbs and, you know, wanting to go to this urban area and help them clean it up and get things back together, that now makes me raise an eyebrow that it didn't, you know, 10 years ago. I just have more awareness about the fact that suburban Black people, we need to know our place a little bit. Also, do y'all watch This Is Us? Because there's a similar kind of storyline in This Is Us where Randall, who lives out in the suburbs in the huge house, decides that he's gonna go into Philadelphia and clean it up. Sir, don't be a colonizer. That's what colonizers do. Anyways, I don't know who is writing on This Is Us, but that storyline is #problematic. Anyways, so I think that if we want to help people from areas that we are not intimately connected to, it's not best to go in and say, I'm gonna be the leader. There's better ways to do that. You know, I volunteer in areas that I don't live in, but I'm following somebody else's lead because you know better than I do. I think we're not, we don't do a good enough job of sitting back and listening. Suburban Black people. So there's that. And then we had what Booker actually did in Newark. I am very much against the privatization of public goods, in particular the privatization of public money when it comes to education. And Cory Booker is a hardliner when it comes to school choice, which is basically charter schools and using vouchers to help kids get better educations. Now, I think that our education system for low-income people is so shitty. But is it really helping kids to pluck a few lucky kids who have good parents, engaged parents, or a few lucky kids who can be helped by a lottery? Is it really, is it in the best interest of the public to pluck out 10% of a community's children and then leave the 90% to languish? I just have a real issue with it. And I say this as somebody who was very fortunate enough to get access to wonderful public education. That's the kind of public education that everyone deserves. That is not what Cory Booker is in favor of. In fact, he is such a hardliner about privatizing public money for education. He has spoken in front of an organization that Betsy DeVos used to lead. Now, we're mad at Betsy DeVos now because of what she's doing to dismantle our public education system. Cory Booker has aligned with organizations that she supports. That's a red flag for me. That's a problem. And then we have, I don't know if y'all remember this, but it was a really big deal when Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook fame decided that he was going to give $100 million to Newark's school system. And they now have, like, you know, it's not public. It's like charters and all sorts of other stuff and vouchers and all of that kind of stuff. And now we see that that stuff didn't dramatically change the results in that community. You know, dumping money, just dumping corporate money is not what we need. But he still appears to be in favor of that kind of strategy. It's a no for me. And that brings us to the next drawback. Cory Booker has taken a lot of corporate money. He's taken a lot of Wall Street money, and he consistently defends corporations and defends Wall Street. Now, I'm not as offended by that as a lot of people on the left are. I understand if you are, I get it. It just doesn't rankle me the way that it rankles a lot of people. But I do know that you are not gonna be able to get out of the primary being on the side of corporations and being on the side of Wall Street. I remember back during the 2012 campaign for Obama, because Cory Booker is like a really trusted surrogate for big name Democrats. And he got into a little bit of hot water when he defended Mitt Romney and said we shouldn't be mean to people just because they're rich. That in 2012, that was an issue. In 2019, we are way off that, okay? It's eat the rich in 2019. That's just where the party has moved. So, when you consider the big pharma stuff, when you consider the corporate money, the Wall Street money, plus his investment in privatizing public goods, for me, that's disqualifying. And then we have the kind of accommodationist stances that he has taken in public around race. Now, I feel like Cory Booker is one of those people, you know, one of those bright-eyed, bushy-tailed optimists who wants to see the good in everybody. So he's out here saying that we need to put ourselves in white folks' shoes when it comes to blackface. And he's out here saying that he doesn't know if the president is a racist, that's between him and God. And it's like, no. Read the room, Cory. That's not what we want to hear right now. At this point, what Democrats, the strong Democratic base, and I believe that I am part of the base because I'm out here hard, we want a fighter. We want somebody, we don't want kumbaya, let's hold hands. We did that. We tried it 10 years ago with Obama, and that's why Cory Booker just seems like he's an anachronism. He's out of his time. He's like just about to turn 50 now. You know, if only he was 10 years older so that he could have really struck while the iron is hot for his demeanor and the way that he carries himself and the people that he associates himself with. It's just not the time for us now. And we have all of this stuff, right? We have the policy stuff, we have the racial stuff, but then we just have the fact that Cory Booker is just not that compelling. He seems like a nice man. I would want to have dinner with him, not in a romantic way, but I mean, he just seems very kind, but just not that magnetism. That he is a less charismatic Barack Obama. And we've lived through, I mean, we got Barack Obama. We don't need, you know, Barack Obama 2.0, but not as great. We don't need that. I don't desire that. I won't say what we need. I'll say I don't desire that. And I think that Cory Booker, I heard somebody on a podcast I listened to, I feel like it was the 538 podcast, which I love. Shout out to Nate Silver High. On the 538 podcast, they were saying there are so many people who have declared their candidacy for president who are doing so just because they think they would be good presidents, right? Like, I just have a different kind of demeanor than Donald Trump, so I would be good in the Oval Office. But I believe that if you don't have that raw magnetism, that thing that makes people fired up, that makes thousands of people want to crowd you when you're officially announcing your presidential campaign, like we saw with Kamala Harris. You know, Cory Booker's official announcement was in front of a dirty chain link fence. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have that draw, and you don't have the right policies, and you haven't separated yourself as a real visionary. People are drawn to Bernie because they feel like he is a visionary. Now, I don't want to vote for Bernie Sanders, but I get it. I love Elizabeth Warren. I just am so mad at her for doing that ridiculousness with the Cherokee Nation. It didn't have to be like that, because she is a real visionary when it comes to protecting the rights of consumers, of protecting the rights of people who are not rich. That is what we need. The fact that you don't have any real policy vision and you're not super remarkable, and then this is just a little side note, but he just came across as so disingenuous on The Breakfast Club. It's like when they asked him about if he's single or not, and it's like, Cory, you ain't got a lot to kick it. You ain't got a lot to kick it. You're a 50-year-old man. You ain't got no boo, Cory. Who do you think you're fooling? And I know that there's these little, these planted press stories about him and Rosario Dawson. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. You ain't got to lie, Craig. Like, why are you doing that? I just feel like he's not the one. He's not the one. Competent senator, sure. Nice man, sure. I bet he treats his employees and interns wonderfully. He seems like that kind of dude. Is he in it for the right reasons? Yes. Is he presidential material for 2020? No. So that's why I will not be voting for Cory Booker when it comes to the primary. The pieces are there. They're just not put together in the right way for me. And maybe all the pieces aren't there. There's like 2 pieces missing. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much for watching. My bonus video up on the Patreon right now is me going off on that Steve Harvey and Monique interview. Are you kidding? You know, I'm not gonna say it here, but Steve Harvey is a word that rhymes with boon. He is a word that rhymes with loon, boon, moon. Anyways, that is what I did over there while I was putting on my makeup. Go check that out. Of course, it's patrons only. Sign up. I appreciate your support a lot. We are almost at 200 patrons. That's a lot by my standards. So thank y'all so much. Send me an email, leave a comment, send me a private message, buy some merch, sign up for the email newsletter. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Bye.